And if I'm 100% sure, I would definitely try to keep my mind open to hearing new things, because I always want to learn other perspectives.
I guess what specifically could Matt say that might influence your confidence?
That's hard.
I know.
Oh my gosh, you're really asking epistemological questions.
Yeah.
I haven't even had my cup of coffee yet.
Oh no.
I know, God forbid. What could you say that would convince me otherwise? Sure, I mean, it's something that I think is really important, and I was just having a conversation about how important it is to talk about it, so maybe this is just stars aligning.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, this is pretty cool. This feels professional.
We try.
Yeah.
We do try.
Yeah.
Do you need me to like touch you up or anything?
Yeah. Do I look good?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So if you were to wrap up what you just told me into like a tweet, what would the tweet be?
The tweet. Okay. I feel like as a tweet, oh God, I don't have social media. I am so bad at it.
Basically, I'm just saying a short version.
A short version. We live on the planet, we're killing the planet. There are ways that we can go about living that would be super beneficial to the world around us. And if it's good for the planet, it's usually good for you.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So, mind if we concentrate on we are killing the planet? That can be what you believe is true?
Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of the things that we're doing right now and the way we're structured, specifically as a capitalist consumerist society, not saying there's really anything wrong with that as how we function as a society, but the effects of that can be extremely detrimental, especially when we have these big companies that really want to capitalize on certain things. Like I was watching this documentary called For Love of Water, and it talks about how a lot of private water companies are actually working to take rivers and streams and just pump water out of those and use those and sell them back to the community, even though they're literally just the water you're drinking out of your tap. Gotcha. It's not regulated, it's not cared for, it's not ethical. And a lot of people tend to trust these big businesses that are so much bigger than us. And I'm not saying capitalism is bad, corporate's bad, but it's just so many people forget that we have the responsibility of being stewards of the earth, and we can't trust corporate America or corporate anything or the World Bank to do that for us. And I think it's lost on a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So much things we could talk about here.
I could go on and on. This has been kind of what I've been thinking about this semester. It's been my...
I guess with corporations, is it all corporations or just some?
No, there are actually a lot of corporations that are working super hard to hit a zero carbon goal by 2030. A lot of companies are working very hard at reaching these goals. And it's definitely not all companies, but it's definitely more among corporate businesses. It's not very hard for a small local business to, throw 100 car batteries into the ocean. That's not really how it works. But there are a lot of companies that are working against climate change and calling for climate action, and that is kind of creating a demand for that that's circling through the chain and kind of pushing bigger businesses to do the same and to live up to that. But a really difficult thing, specifically with big businesses and food, is food waste, because even if you have good intentions, I mean, like Quick Trip is a great company, like they do their best, but the amount of food waste at the end of the day they produce is really not predictable. There's just a lot of things about supporting so many people as a capitalist society that makes it really hard to gauge how many goods you need and how many things will be wasted.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty difficult for companies to gauge.
Gotcha. Okay. What do you, when you say we are killing the planet, what do you think's the biggest way humans, I suppose, or capitalists are doing that?
I'd say fast fashion is a huge one. Okay. The textile industry is the number 2 polluter in the world after oil.
Okay.
Which is crazy, because when you think of that, there are so many clothes being produced constantly, and for 1 pound of clothing, there's 200 pounds of water waste. And most of that clothing that's produced is never used, or it's used once. And I think fast fashion and just consumerist tendencies, specifically with that sort of stuff, like clothes, that's really dangerous.
What do you think is the most important one to change?
Oh God, they all work together. They're all kind of in the same boat. I specifically, when I think of fast fashion in America, I think of Shein, but I know there are also corporations like Zara, H&M, those sorts of businesses that production isn't necessarily ethical.
Sure. If you could stop fast fashion or stop oil production, or maybe limit it or make it better, make it right, which would you want to do?
I feel like it's really hard for us right now to completely come off of fossil fuels in that industry because we keep intertwining ourselves in ways.
If they're hypothetical, no limitations. You're a superhero.
I'm a superhero.
Which do you choose?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I would say fast fashion.
Fast fashion? Okay.
Because I don't think that's something that will change on its own. I think that we're naturally leaning away from changing the way we produce energy because we're aware of that, but a lot of people aren't willing to stop buying new things.
So people kind of realize that oil is a pollutant, but they don't realize it for fashion.
Yeah, I feel like when people hear global warming and climate change, the first thing they think of is fossil fuels. And yes, but so many other externalities and little things that you don't take into account.
Okay. So fast fashion, maybe if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of change the claim and talk about this, because after listening to what I'm hearing, and to repeat back to you what I think you're saying. If I'm wrong, just say, hey, Pierce. I'm Pierce, by the way.
Oh, I'm Evie. Nice to meet you, Pierce.
E-V-E-Y?
E-V-I-E.
Evie. Yeah, that would be a more common one. All right. So what I'm hearing is fast fashion. So it's like probably 1 or 2, 3 time use, chuck it, whatever. Is that kind of what you mean by fast fashion?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And this is killing the planet, or at least harming the planet. And how does that work?
Well, basically when it's produced, like I said, it displaces so much water for so little clothing made, and it's hardly ever used. It just sits in your closet, and fabric is so hard to recycle because it's made of such an eclectic mixture of things. Specifically in fast fashion, there's a lot of, oh gosh, why can't I remember the name of what it's called? But it's basically, they're like, this is produced from wood pulp, so it's safe. But it's not. The amount of chemicals they use in that are so deadly for the workers and so bad for the fabric, and all sorts of stuff that fabric is made out of just makes it really, really hard to recycle. And there are things like thrifting and Goodwill, like that's where I got all these mamas, but
awesome.
Not everyone wants to buy your crappy little Shein shirt. Like when I go thrifting and I see something from Shein, I don't want to buy it because I know it's bad quality, and so buying that thing once makes it hard to return it, because if you don't want it, if you ordered it and it looked good online and then you got it and it's a piece of like crap, who else is going to want to buy that from you? So it's just so much waste for you to wear it once and maybe take a little picture and post it on your Instagram and toss it in the donation bin.
Okay. And I caught a few. Like one of the reasons why fast fashion is harming the environment, I think you believe that it displaces water in the fabric you can't recycle. I guess, why are these harmful to the environment?
Oh my gosh. So many people forget that water is a limited resource. 3 billion people out of the 8 billion people on Earth have no access to the information of chemicals in their water. So 3 billion people don't know what they're putting into their bodies with water, and once chemicals are in the water system, it takes years for them to seep out back into groundwater. And that process,
and this can happen from the clothes?
Yeah, the chemicals used in clothing seeps into the water. There's a really big issue in impoverished countries with these big fashion plants being there, and people still rely on the rivers to drink, and a lot of people are developing some pretty gnarly diseases from it. And it's just, when pollution like this gets into your water supply, you can't live without water, and so these people have to drink that water, and it just continues in the rain cycle. And even if it's happening across the globe, a lot of us fail to take into account, okay, rain cycles. Even if someone's using that chemical over there, it's going to evaporate, and then it's going to come in a big storm cloud over to us and rain down on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What could you learn that might, or actually, before I ask that, what is your confidence that this is the case? That fast fashion is or polluting water, is that a more appropriate word? Okay. Polluting water.
Very confident. I've been learning about this a lot in class, and we just finished our fast fashion unit. So I watched a video on fast fashion, like specifically Zara, and this was more like England fast fashion than it was American. But then we also watched a video for Love of Water, that documentary. I highly recommend you watch it. It's really fascinating. But
Sounds interesting.
it's super interesting, but it's a very real problem, and I'm not just confident, I'm positive
Okay.
that
Like
it's happening.
100%?
Like 100% positive.
Great. What could you learn that could reduce your confidence that this is happening?
Reduce my confidence. That's really hard because I just said I'm 100% confident, so that makes it seem like I'm completely unwavering in this issue. I feel like something that I could learn would be the statistics at which these clothes are being bought, like if that
Okay.
lowers significantly. But I also do realize that these are made to buy, like they're already ready before someone orders them. So I'm not really sure how to answer that question because I don't really think it's much of an opinion thing.
Yeah, you kind of learned the facts
Yeah.
from the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what alternatives could you think of? Like, I guess you learned some of this from the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
What else could something else be causing this water pollution?
There
or-
are so many other things. I could
Sure.
go on and on. Like, even down this river, we have a paper mill. So many plants are powered by hydroelectricity, so they use a lot of water to generate that electricity. And agriculture. Agriculture is a big part of water pollution and algal blooms happening in lakes. And I'm pretty sure most people are at least somewhat aware of that issue, but not the scale of it. I just think that water is something that we forget is finite, and if we're drinking bad water, it will really hurt us. I think that there's a lot that contributes to water pollution, but one of the first things I think of is fast fashion. Yeah.
Got Matt here. I like to use him as an example. I throw him into the mix here. So let's say I'm talking to Matt, talking to you, Evie, and let's say Matt saw a documentary, and it said that fast fashion actually doesn't pollute the water, and that's just like propaganda from other fashion companies to just trash on some of these more affordable ones. Like maybe it's like an American company who just wants to kind of trash China or whatever, right? And he's 100% confident in that because he watched this other documentary. I guess I'm sitting here, I'm Pierce, and I'm trying to figure out who's right. What's the best way for me to determine who's right?
That's always really hard, especially when you have two people who are completely rooted in opposite ends of the spectrum. I've noticed that a lot. Coming from a certain political background and moving to another, sometimes you can't really reach a middle ground.
Yeah.
I would love to listen to what you have to say and what you've learned. And if I'm 100% sure, I would definitely try to keep my mind open to hearing new things because I always want to learn other perspectives.
I guess what specifically could Matt say that might influence your confidence?
That's hard.
I know.
Oh my gosh, you're really asking epistemological questions.
Yeah.
I haven't even had my cup of coffee yet.
Oh no.
I know, God forbid. What could you say that would convince me otherwise? Some new technology has been invented that's working at getting rid of the pollutants from the water.
Okay.
I don't know. For me, this is kind of a hard topic to hear opinion on because usually what you are hearing is a lot of the cover-up of like, oh, this is our sustainability report, leaving out these pieces of information. And so I'm more prone to distrust rather than to trust. And I would love to hear what you have to say, but I also do have that barrier up of, okay, well, this does affect me and this is being downplayed. That's sort of the idea.
Maybe I can try to help you out. Try to prompt you to help to think of a reason. Is there a test we could perform to figure out if Matt's right or you are correct?
Water analysis.
Water analysis?
Like take a sample.
I guess, so like maybe we have the piece of clothing from Shane.
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 We
Some
dunk it
guy.
in like some water, and then we test the water. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, I'm thinking more of water coming out of the factories that are producing these
okay.
clothing. I'm talking
Gotcha,
more about
gotcha.
not directly like the shirt you're wearing is gonna kill the environment when you put it away, but it's like, well, the production and the externalities of the shirt that you're wearing, you don't really take into account just how
you.
much.
I thought you meant like when you washed it or threw it away.
No,
Okay,
no.
Got it. That makes
no.
way more sense.
Okay,
actually.
yeah. Like the production of these products
Production of
just
it, okay.
displaces so much water,
Gotcha.
and I mean, like,
So like maybe we have a factory that produces not fast, or are they equal? Is fast fashion and not fast fashion the same? It's just one gets worn way more than the other.
I'm trying to think of what you mean by that. Well, fast fashion, they definitely pollute a lot more, and it's just kind of crappy, made to wear
Yeah.
once. Like, it's not made to last a long time.
Like if I don't, what's a non-fast fashion brand? Do you know? Can you name one?
The North Face.
Okay, the North Face. We got the North Face, and then we got somebody who sells on Shein. If we measure their output for like one shirt, somehow figure that out. Have
Yeah.
them produce one shirt and measure the water coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
Are they going to be the same? Are they going to be different?
No, I mean, there are sustainable ways to produce clothing, or at least more sustainable ways. I mean, like the North Face makes things like Gore-Tex, which God knows isn't good for the environment, but outdoorsy people still buy it. But, I mean, like Shein doesn't really work to be resourceful with their products, and they don't really focus on making it environmentally friendly and lowering their impact, while companies that are more conscious about their impact and their effect on the earth are trying to make decisions. I keep getting notified, like, are you done with your walking workout? Yes, I'll pause that. But some companies really pay attention to sustainability, while some kind of throw it out the window. And so there's a big difference in production and manufacturing and how that can affect the globe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's another claim we could talk about.
Yeah.
But,
I would
I
love
don't
to
wanna-
talk more, but I also do need my coffee.
that's quite all right. We can start to, we can pretty much wrap it
Yeah.
up here. I think that was a good talk.
Yeah, I've
I
enjoyed
guess-
this.
Did I ask anything that I should have asked?
I guess what people can do to contribute.
Okay. What can people do?
I feel like thrifting doesn't really have a bad, like, oh, you're poor taste to it anymore. It's kind of glorified these days. It's like, oh, you thrifted those jeans? That's really cool. I think that's something that people can work towards, is not really being drawn into the allure of having a package delivered to your door. Just go out and buy your own things. Try to be more sustainable. Don't buy clothes you don't need. I think that's a really hard thing. I mean, even talking for myself, I just got rid of like half my clothes last weekend, and it was so hard. But I was like, I don't wear these. Someone else can have them. I mean, just making those conscious decisions about what you do need and what you just want. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got. If you have
All
any
right.
questions for me, you can ask.
I'm all good. It was nice to meet you
Cool, yeah,
guys.
you too.
I'm gonna go get myself a coffee, but you guys have a good day.
Yeah, too. Feel free to grab a water or fruit snack if you want.
I'll take
you
a
too.
fruit snack.
Both of you.
Snack? You
Yeah.
spoil
Oh,
us.
yes, you do.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again. Have a good day.
You too.